Is the Darwinex risk engine actually against traders? In today's video, I'm going to explain to you exactly why it's not, with proof. If you're new here and you don't know what Darwinex is, I have made a longer form video on Darwinex, which I'll link below. And I have also interviewed their CEO, which is an incredible watch, and I highly recommend checking it out. I've also visited their offices in Madrid and in London. And again, there's plenty of videos on my channel for that. But to put it very quick and simple, you have Darwinex Classic and you have Darwinex Zero. Now, Darwinex Classic, it requires you to deposit your own funds of minimum £1,000, trade on those and build your record, and you can attract investor capital. Darwinex Zero is a virtual account that you pay a small fee for every single month, which is a link in the description to save you 20% off, and it's actually cheaper than a Nando's. You trade a virtual account and you build your record on that, and you can also obtain allocations, which are a way for you to make money whilst building your record. So whether you decide to trade your own capital or whether you decide to trade on a virtual account, I'll leave links in the description to both of them. Now, I want to make it really clear, the risk engine is not against traders. It's not out to get you. It's very important that you do not get obsessed with trying to understand and figure out the risk engine like you have been trying to understand and figure out the algorithm of the market.
I've got nothing left.
John at HSBC controlling where you get taken out, watching your stop losses. It is not that. You don't get too attached to the risk engine and try to change your strategy in order to facilitate the risk engine. The risk engine will naturally adapt around you. It is a very clever piece of technology. So I'm going to show you how the risk engine can actually benefit traders. What I want to highlight here is essentially the journey of the Darwinex itself. Now, as you can see here, you have the trader, and you either are on Darwinex Zero, which like I say is a virtual account, or you have Darwinex Classic, which again requires you to deposit your own funds. Maybe you're not in the business of wanting to use your own funds and perhaps you would prefer using virtual account, then this is exactly where you would go. So the trader will take a trade using either MT5, MT4. The trades will then go from the trading account, which is your signal account, into the risk engine, and the risk engine intervenes. Now, the reason it intervenes is because it's to protect the investor at all times. That is Darwinex's main goal, is to protect investors. The risk engine has the capability to either dial back your trades, the volume of the trades, so the lot size, or increase. Now, the way it does this, don't worry about it. You're going to go mental trying to understand and figure it out, and you're going to do your head in. What's important to note is if it's dialing it back, it may just be because your strategy is slightly riskier, and in order for it to meet the required parameters of the VAR. Now, I'm not talking about the VAR like in football matches. However, you could argue that the risk engine is acting as a referee, and it is essentially creating an even playing field for all traders. This is purely because you do not want traders coming in, punting their accounts, full margin in their accounts, and not having something to intervene, because therefore it's not protecting investors. Investors could wake up one day and have lost all of their funds. Now I'm going to show you with proof exactly why the risk engine is not against you by using different traders' records to highlight how the risk engine has actually favored the traders. As we can see here, this is a Darwin. Now this is Darwinex Classic. So essentially this trader has made a 78.8% return and a drawdown of minus 22%. And as you can see here, their record is from 2018. It's an extensive record and it's given a lot more data to the risk engine. Remember, the risk engine updates every 45 days. As you can see here, this is the Darwin. This is what matters. Like I said before, forget the signal account, not in the sense of it doesn't matter, full port it, but it doesn't matter what that's made because the investor won't see that. They'll see this. If you click on that, they obviously can see the signal account, but the risk engine is the key factor here. And this is why Darwinex is so great. If we now look at the signal account, you can see this trader has actually had a minus 3% return and a minus 89% drawdown. You would naturally go, oh, that's not the best. Like, what's going on there? But the risk engine has obviously found a way to increase this strategy to make it safer for investors, worst case, but still give them a return and a smaller drawdown. So this is one example of the risk engine not being against you and actually being in your favor. Let's take a look at another example. And bearing in mind, there's lots of these examples, but I don't want to spend 5 hours going through all of them. So I'm trying to just show you a couple to give you an idea. But as you can see here, this trader has returned 226% on their Darwin. They've had a max drawdown of minus 15 and their record expands back to 2014. Now, if you click on here and you go and look at their signal account, they've actually made 13% and they have a drawdown of minus 3. So although their drawdown is slightly bigger on the Darwin, the return is monumentally big. And again, this is the Darwinex risk engine favoring the trader. because it is saying this system can be boosted by the risk engine, so we're going to boost it, and it's given that trader that return. Hopefully making sense. If we now go and look at another, shout out to AFPL, they're on my Darwinex leaderboard and they do incredibly well every month. As you can see here, return of 23%, max drawdown of 6.99. It's very important to remember the drawdown is peak to trough based on a high watermark, so bear that in mind. Now, if we go down to the VAR, which is what everybody gets a little bit carried away with. Now, obviously with VAR, the lower the number, the better. What that would mean is the lower this number comes, the more chance you've got of the risk engine actually increasing your trade size due to you being quote unquote less riskier. Now, I'm not sitting here saying this trader is risky by any means, but the metrics it measures is deemed it to be riskier. And as I said before, it could be trade size, trade frequency, length of holding the position, and whatever else it might look at, which again, like I say, we do not need to get too in depth with. However, with a VAR of 98% at peak and now 60%, this person has managed to get onto Darwinex Gold, which is what every trader should be focusing on getting towards. You need a minimum of an 8-month track record, and you must meet one of the following, and essentially need to have a return to drawdown ratio of 2.5 based on your max drawdown. So for example here, 1-year record, minimum return 20%, max drawdown would be around 8%. Now it's going to take you time, and this is why I say always take the initiative to get involved with Darwinex. Whether you pick classic or zero, there's links below, you can save some pennies. Get involved purely because the longer you leave this, the longer it's going to take you to build the record in the first place. And I'm telling you now, this is going to become the next biggest thing in the space, and you're going to sleep on it, and then you're going to look in 6 months and be like, rah, that Donny on YouTube was telling me to do this for ages and I just ignored him. And now you're going to have to start. So just get involved. But if we go back to this, you can see here, this person has still achieved 330,000 euros in allocations and is obviously on Darwinex Gold with a VAR that some might argue is high. Now, of course, the lower you get it, and I think below 6.5% is where it will start risking like for like, and any lower it starts to increase. However, as you can see, they started off lower and it went up and up and up and up. Now they have brought this down, and over time you will bring yours down too. And this is where also the metrics of Darwinex will start to help you. For example here, the little black lines here that you can see, that is where the trader closed the position, and this is showing you where the trade actually went. And perhaps if you held your trades for longer, you may make more, or you close at perfect places, continue doing what you're doing. And again, the same for the drawdowns in terms of where the trader's stop losses are, where they got out of the drawdown, and if you're holding drawdowns for too long, etc, etc. This is a great metric to measure, but it only measures once you are off the risk engine. Essentially, it's 15 trading days and 25 trading decisions. To put it blunt, it's pretty much 25 trades overall, give or take. Now, yes, that might take you time, but the good thing to know is the trades you're taking during the risk engine phase, they are going on your record, because if you look here, it will say Darwin created. So this Darwin was created on the 13th. However, these months here were still allowed on their record. So don't worry if it's taking you 6 months to get off it and you think I've wasted all that time, because you haven't, because your record is still being built. You just can't access allocation until you are on Darwinex itself, which, like I say, is 25 trading decisions, 15 trading days. This person absolutely smashing it. Another example, this person here, a little bit of a bigger drawdown. People ask me all the time, oh, I've had quite a big drawdown, I'm worried I should restart. Now, I'll put my hands up. I did the same. Going through the period where I shared back in October last year, where I had a bit of a rough patch in my funding accounts. I didn't have this as my master account at the time. It was just linked to a copier. I got a little bit carried away, took a few losses, and unfortunately, it happened on Darwinex. My drawdown went to around 10%. I naturally, because of the whole prop model, thought this is really bad, I better restart. I didn't need to restart. All I needed to do was just trade through it, trade out of it, build the record, and I would have been fine, as this trader has done here. They've had a max drawdown of 15%. Their return is 40% overall. And as you can see here, they've had 445,000 euros in allocations, and they are now on Darwinex Gold, which again just shows the whole point in longevity. They didn't freak out when in drawdown, they just showed and proved they can trade. And if we go and look at the strategy analysis, again, to look at the VAR, this person's VAR, again, as you can see, has peaked to around 53%, and at current is sat at 35%. It has come down and it has started to go back up. But again, this person is not sat there stressing. They are just trading, and they are letting the Darwin risk engine do its thing, and it's favoring them clearly, because as you can see, they're at 40%, mate. They're on gold. They're doing bits. And this is what it's all about. It's about the long term. And obviously props and things have polluted your mind, and I'm not here to bash them or anything like that. But what I am saying is if you're not on this, you're just going to fall behind, because not only is it a great offering for you to build that record, attract investors. Like I said, they're building out a hedge fund as well to, again, more capital allocation to traders. But it also gives you really clear insights into your own edge. And who knows, it might give you a slight tweak here and there that betters your edge, betters your return, favors the risk engine even more. And you might be like one of those accounts that perhaps you're making 20, 30% a year, but the risk engine might be like, yo, big man, you're now making 60% a year because I've got the data, I can see how you trade, I'm analyzing everything, and boom. VAR, or value at risk, is a forward-looking way of measuring the risk of an investment, which answers the questions of how much you might lose, how likely it is, and over what time span. This gives the investors an idea of potentially how much their investment could lose, over what period of time, and a percentage of how likely it is. Now, Darwinex Zero works with a 6.5% monthly target of VAR using a 95% confidence level. This means that Darwin's might be expected to lose 6.5% or more 1 month out of 20, or 5% of the time. In the flip side, it means that 95% of the time, or 19 months of 20, the same investment will make more than minus 6.5%. VAR is essentially a forward-looking measure. This kind of describes what could happen in the future. You can work on bringing the VAR down, yes. The VAR will look at things such as trade size, trade frequency, how long you're in trades for. But again, you shouldn't be changing your edge to suit that. Just trade. And this is why you see people shouting that they made 60% on their Signal account, and I'm going to attach it to a MyFX book and show you how great I am, but their Darwin's probably sat at 5-6%, not out of any flaw saying they're a bad trader, purely saying you are a riskier trader with the metrics you've given the risk engine, therefore it is dialing back your risk to compensate, protecting the investor. That's all it's doing. It is not against you and saying you made 60%, but I fancy only giving you 5 because, I feel like it. It's saying that your strategy is riskier. Now, I understand you might take that as a dig. It's not a dig. It's using very, very in-depth metrics that I do not understand and my brain cannot comprehend, because I'm not a mathematician, I'm not a programmer, I'm not an algorithm, and you are not either, and you do not need to understand it on that level. So like I say, the Darwinex risk engine is not there to be nasty or horrible or evil. It is not to make you feel bad. It is simply there to even the playing field, act as the referee, and ensure that investors are protected. I hope this video has helped in some way. If you're new here, do me a favor, like and subscribe. Literally takes seconds. If you want more videos like this, or you want me to explain any more on Darwinex, let me know in the comments. I'll catch you all in a bit, guys and girls. Peace and love.